you.
Hi guys, good morning, 26th of August 2019, 8 a.m. CT, 7 a.m. London. Piotr here, meaning this is a pre-London Open, only here on Light Forex Global YouTube channel. Big gaps at the open, dollar down, indices down, gold up. All about Friday and weekend fireworks. So we are going to discuss a little bit within the next few minutes, a little bit later. Let's start with a risk warning, guys. Please bear in mind trading FX on margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for investors who can sustain loss of some or all initial investments, so please do not invest money you cannot afford to lose. Seek education, gain experience before risking real money. However, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Alright, so what is going on? Yeah, big fireworks started on Friday, and I spoke with our macro guy Michał before we start our meeting. He has some great news for us, so hopefully he will be able to explain in the great details what is going on since Friday, then over the course of the weekend, when there was an attempt to try to play down what happened on Friday. So I truly believe Michał will be able to share this info with us. Briefly, we have UK bank holiday today, but I think it doesn't mean that we are not going to see some fireworks already here. So there is a continuation of the G7. At 10 a.m. CET, 9 a.m. London, we do have German IFO business climate, and right after the New York Open, 2:30 p.m. CET, 1:30 p.m. London, core durable goods orders, and at 4 p.m. CET, 3 p.m. London, we do have FOMC member Bullard speaks. Then tomorrow, I think that the situation between US and China, that's gonna be the top of the course of the next few days. But we have to check tomorrow German final GDP as well as US consumer confidence. Nothing extraordinary in Wednesday. Then Thursday, preliminary GDP, that's ahead of the end of the month. It's T+2 if you remember what I'm talking about. Friday is a Canadian GDP, USD personal spending income, Chicago PMI, revised University of Michigan. So plenty of data. It might be very busy end of the summer holiday, so yeah, I'm pretty sure plenty of action around. Anyway, once we are going to have a connection with Michał and we are going to start to discuss the situation since last Friday, right? We are going to check euro dollar. Here we have a break of 11.15. We tested 11.60, so that's what we discussed, that there is a possibility of such a action. Similar situation with the cable break through 22.50, 22.70, hit 22.90 late New York, consolidation over the course of the Tokyo session. The thing here is that it's still a Brexit case. So there was a little bit of the pullback on Friday related to the Boris Johnson comment, but it was overtaken by the overall dollar weakness. And of course, the key here is the yen and dollar yen. Huge gap down, trying to recover after the 104.50 top of the possible demand based on the weekly, as you can see. So all of this are going to be discussed during our conversation with Michał. So let's try to connect with him. Please stay with me. We are going to get back together with Michał within the next few seconds. Hi Michał, good morning, how are you doing? Busy weekend?
Hello. Good morning. As always.
As always. All right. So because it's only one thing, one important thing today to discuss is the whole action started last Friday. So we are awaiting your comments, your inputs. But I'm going to disturbing you between the lines, trying to talk about the charts. What happened, what might happen with the majors, with indices, maybe gold and oil as well. So let's start. All over to you.
About the gold.
We are awaiting hot comments and inputs.
Everything started from the China. From the information from the China to impose new tariffs on the $75 billion goods from US, and hours after that we saw another rage from Donald Trump that he will impose new tariffs on 500 billion of trade goods, and he will order to the US companies to leave the China, right? So strong words. According to if someone is thinking how he can do that. So after that, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin said Trump could order companies out of the China under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act.
Okay,
so
let me stop you here for a second. Let me stop you here for a second. Let's start with the first chart. Let's start with the Nasdaq index. So we've seen huge sell-off. We've seen huge sell-off going on over the course of Friday. Very low close and gap to the downside today. Retest of 7,360, 7,350 based on my chart. Because of the preparation to the trying to play all these informations down, there is a little bit of the rally back over the course of the Tokyo session, but overall looks like the first scenario we were discussing, if you remember, we had two scenarios last week. We talked about possible supply right around this level, what we have to the downside, the over under with this equal moves. That was the second scenario. The first scenario was based on this possible supply right here, right now, based on the price action we've seen at the very beginning of August, and probably because of all this what happened last Friday, big sell-off already from here. Can we get back higher and retest 7,850? Of course we can, but I think we should focus right now. On the possible action. Just 1 second. Yeah, that's gonna be better. We should focus right now on the price action down here towards 7,300, as we are finishing the business right now. So in case of break through that level down, we might see levels even close to 7,000 and 6,800. The green possible demand visible here. from the short-term perspective, gap down. We closed that gap over the course of the Tokyo session, as I mentioned. Of course, it's going to be smart and worth to wait for the US to open, but I think in case of the retest of 7,570.80, that might be some kind of the selling opportunity. As you can see, in case of the again similar in size move to the upside, that could be the case. It also could be 1-to-1, for example, something from here. Anyway, watching carefully the developments on the US indices. Again, besides that UK has a bank holiday, I think it's gonna be anyway very interesting. Back to you, Michał.
Yeah, according to your rising of the Nasdaq indices. Yes, we can, as President Obama was saying very often about this leaving the U.S. companies from China. Good that on Sunday President Trump retreated from this statement. So it could impact much more than just new tariffs on new goods from China. We see also the comments from China representative that they are welcoming new companies from all around the world to invest in China and stuff like that. That they are not changing their approach to the business with the investors in China. But also, I think the President Trump is feeling very hello, Mer. He's feeling very confident because, as we can see, he wants to hurt them very bad, and clearly from the trade wars that he started, there will be no winners. The winner will be the one who will be suffering the least from this whole situation, and he has very big opportunities around the world, right? He made a deal, new deal. He has a new approved details on the deal with Japan. He see that the UK is like willing to accept almost everything after the Brexit, right? To buy their farm products, for example. So he sees opportunities all over the world in other.
All right, Michał. So let me
sectors.
disturbing you again here. Based on what you've said, I would like to ask you about your opinion about the President Trump and especially about the Friday. What do you think? What happened on Friday?
What happened?
After what was the reason of this? Because
I told in the beginning the information from China that they impose new tariffs on the U.S. goods for the U.S. goods in the amount of $75 billion, and that was the key point.
That's what I understand. I would rather want to hear your opinion. Your comment, just because it's that one side it could be that he's trying to show the strength, but I think he showed the greatest weakness with his behavior on Friday.
You think?
Yeah.
My opinion, he just used the opportunity to weaken China even more, and show that they are feeling very confident in all these trade wars, right? So I don't know to
so you are
bigger
fine
pressure. We see. I want to add also. We see that the labor costs in China are growing. And for example, the biggest China manufacturers of tech manufacturer Foxconn also is building very big mega manufacturer in US. I think there's I think everything what is happening all over around the China gives very much confidence to Trump, and everybody wants to overthrow the dollar.
All right. So you are fine with the new dictator, right?
Yeah, I think
You are fine with
it's hurting everybody. It's hurting everybody, but I think there is some logic in his actions. Of this whole trade war is because of the unfair trade policy of the China, right? They were buying the companies all over the world.
That's what we agreed some time ago. Okay, I got completely different view, and that's why we are discussing to show different views. I've got completely different view. The Friday. We were talking some time ago that by what he was doing on the social media world, he was showing where he has the weak sides, and that's what was exposed last Friday, in my opinion. So looks like, and that was confirmed, of course, by his opposition, that he confirmed his weakness. And especially with this order for the U.S. companies to leave the China, it's like that's why I was laughing and was trying to ask you about your opinion. But that's looks like the new dictator on the world. Anyway, let's try to based on what we discussed, let's try to have a look what we have on the euro-dollar chart. And here, finally, we broke through 11.15 on Friday. So we hit 1160 as the next possible level based on our discussion and what we've seen here the last day of the July, right? So we hit that level over the course of the Tokyo session. Some kind of the pullback, some kind of the rejection. So now the move to the upside is equal to the move to the downside. The bears, so euro sellers, of course, got all the stuff related to the Germany in their favor, but overall, the whole situation right now I think we are going to get an answer very soon, probably towards the end of the month, because if we are going to see weakened dollar, and if we are going to see the weakness also on the stocks indices, it might be the case that especially with dollar, that that's gonna be the market decision that all right, never mind what's going on with Germany, there is a still free market, and in case of the dollar weakness, it might be the market answer to the latest President Trump behavior. Of course, there might be some kind of the theory that it's done just to weaken the dollar, because last week also President Trump said that he has a special plan to weaken the dollar, but looks like if that was the plan, didn't work fine because of the weakness in the indices. So right now 1160, that's the line in the sand short term for both bulls and bears. Move down below 1160 might open again 1115, the breakout level, and to be honest with you, from the breakout and retest perspective, that would be good. And then we should see 1215, 1225, 1250, and that's very important level, and we discussed the zone over here quite a few times. In case of the break higher and close above 1250, I think in the medium term that would confirm continuation of the dollar weakness here on the euro dollar. From intraday perspective, trying to check the hourly chart, looks like we're trying to create the flag, and here already Frankfurt is trying to break higher. We are fighting around the weekly open right now. For me, at least for now, I'm waiting for some kind of the spike down, maybe because of the IFO data from the Germany or any other reason. I'm looking for a pullback and retest this breakout level around 1115, 1120 for continuation towards 1215, 1225, 1250. Let's have a look what we have on a dollar, and Michał mentioned about the possible deal between the Japan and US. So that's what was another reason probably we saw a little bit of the calamity during the Tokyo session. Anyway, huge gap below 105, retest 104.50, rally back, retest the supply around 105.80, 106. The thing is that we have to switch to the weekly chart, and don't forget that we are testing the huge weekly demand zone. Now, there was a low on the 25th of March 2018 at 104.63, and today's low was 104.45. So looks like we broke through that low. We hit some stops, and on the move back that caused the rally. That was the weakest shorts were forced to cover, but based on this weekly chart, Friday is gonna give us an answer with the weekly chart, but right now looks like it was the move to the downside, 3 weeks of consolidation and attempt to continue to the downside. If that's the case, then what we discussed, 103, 102 might be the target. Of course, the invisible hands of Bank of Japan, that's what we have to be aware here. I think that right now we might see a few more attempts to try to get back above 106, and from this daily chart, the last week continuation. So we are talking about the levels close to 106.20, the bottom of that consolidation. That's the supply level, and closer to current level we have the bottom from that 13th of August as a supply level. So we will see where we are going to get the daily close. From intraday perspective, that's the breakdown, right? That's the level we are discussing might work as a demand previous week, and it used to work twice, right, for 2 hours. Then all those news which hit the market push dollar yen lower 1-1, and we might see retest of that level, this time from the bottom, and probably that's gonna be because of the higher volatility. That's what we have to adopt. Most of us already know the low volatility environment, and if your strategies were working fine, then great, but you have to adapt to the new market conditions. Higher volatility, meaning the possible of the bigger corrections, and in that case something in between 106.20, 106.50, that's where I see the possible supply from the bears perspective here on dollar yen. Of course, the weekly open as the current possible demand. So let's have a look how it's going to work over the course of the London session. Back to you, Michał.
What else I could add? I think about this trade war, we just sum up the most important things. It's a very broad topic, so I don't know, maybe we will discuss it in live trading room in the next days. So I will just add about the about this, what you said about the Trump, that he's a little bit of a dictator, but yeah, he just I think he just using the situation that all over the world we see a strong recession in Germany and weakness in China, and yeah, he just want to set stable the US position on the international area. About the Eurozone, I just want to also add that we see that the coalition with the Democrats, with the five-star movement in Italy will be an act, and we will not in this case we will not see a new early elections, and that means that the Eurosceptic Matteo Salvini Lega movement will not come to power in Italy. So if that will come true and that will fulfill, we will see some kind of agreement calm down in the situation between tensions between Eurozone and Italy, right?
Okay,
so,
I think that's right now. All market eyes are on the President Trump. Again, it's very good that we have different opinion. In my opinion, the whole situation, again, it might be the conspiracy theory, but I think we've seen some kind of the manipulation we've seen the president, in my opinion, President Trump showing his true face, because I agree with you at the very beginning. What he was trying to do with China, we agreed before that he used the China weakness to try to force to try to get the fair trade agreement, stuff like this. But the latest behavior, and I think that what he did last Friday showed his real face, and also showed and confirmed his greatest weakness, and that's what his opposition is going to try to play with,
Yes.
showing them, because for the opposition, that's the only way to try to win the presidential election next year, is to weaken the economic situation right now, and to show and blame President Trump. And that's the thing, that he couldn't hold his nerve,
Yeah, that's right. So
his
impulsive.
horses, and that was horrible. Anyway, let's go through the pound USD right now. Here we saw, over the course of the late Friday, we saw overall dollar weakness, but here for 1 hour there was also attempt to sell pound off, but bulls were able to overtake this one, the pullback. It was related to the Boris Johnson comment in relation to the Brexit. So overall, going back to what we discussed today, that it might end up, I'm not saying, just to be perfectly clear, I'm not saying that it's already happened, because it's not. I think that on euro dollar it's 12.50, on the pound is 123 and a little bit higher, and of course on the dollar yen it's below 105. But what I'm talking about the overall dollar was quite strong, and because of, maybe not because overall of dollar, but because of the weak situation in the EU, because of the Brexit in relation to the pound, etc., etc., etc. But right now we have the first attempt to sell the dollar. Most probably we can call it some kind of the profit taking ahead of the end of the month from that perspective. But if we are going to see continuation of the dollar weakness, that might be the market answer to the current President Trump behavior, and that might cause more trouble for almost all assets, meaning that we might see huge volatility, bigger volatility on the FX market. On one side is good, but then each news might influence the market move, and we might see some weakness, continuation of the weakness when we are talking about the indices, and that might spur rally on the gold. So when we are talking about the gold, here same spike higher, gap up. So right now we are testing levels we've seen last time around 2013 and 2014, right? So we are testing this possible supply on the gold ideally right now. So the question is, if the overall market forces, let's call it that way, are going to be able to calm the market down a bit. In that case, trying to switch the light in the tunnel for risk on sentiment, because what we've seen right now, it might turn even uglier, and we will see. In case of the break and close on the gold much higher, we might reopen 1,900, 2,000 again. So from the gold traders perspective, we are testing supply, as you can see, 1550, ideally to the point, a little bit of the upper shadow here on the weekly. On the daily, of course, the break of this latest consolidation, it might be rally consolidation rally. So let's see how we are going to behave on the retest of 1500 on the gold and oil. Of course, because of all this weakness, we saw the sell-off on oil as well on Friday, because if recession is coming, we are not gonna see higher oil prices. And if you remember, and I'm still in that position, that overall, long term, we are going to revisit the levels much lower. Just trying to talk about some levels based on the equal moves. We might try to find and look for stops, yeah, here below 43. So 40 might be the case long term. I'm not saying we are going to go there by tomorrow. Michał, would you like to add something?
I just want to ask you about the pound because you said, oh, yes, of course, it's mostly about the President Trump. But do you think that the situation with the weakening of the euro side about the no deal Brexit didn't help the pound at all?
I'm not sure because looks like maybe you didn't notice. It looks like that's what I've mentioned here. Probably you didn't notice in that comment. That's what I mentioned here. That was the sell-off of the pound here was because of the Boris Johnson comment, who played down this weakness stance of the EU. So yeah, after our program,
Okay.
I will try to find this comment and send to you, because that was what happened is what we discussed previous week, in my opinion, that President Trump used the China weakness to try to put the pressure on China, right? So the same situation as a template we were trying to discuss the previous week, that the Johnson is trying to use the EU weakness to try to win something, right? So
Yeah,
at some
that's
point
right.
it was the Merkel comment that, okay, we might find the solution. You've mentioned about this overall EU weekend stance towards the Brexit, but that's what Johnson played down last Friday, and that's why we saw this attempt to sell off. But it was overtaken by the overall dollar weakness. And that again, I think we might talk about the weekend EU, we might talk about the election in Italy, we might talk about the Brexit, but right now, because of what we've seen on Friday, that's why I think it's a top news right now. It's the dollar weakness because of the President Trump behavior and what happened since Friday. And if that's gonna continue, then we have to understand that the market is focusing on this. Doesn't matter what they are going to discuss in EU, doesn't matter what they are going to discuss in Great Britain. The top is gonna be the trade tension, US and China, and eventually continuation of the weakened dollar. And that's, I'm not sure if that's gonna work that way, but if we are not figure it out quickly, which way we should, which way market wants to go, then we are gonna to be in a deep trouble. That's how it works. So but that's just my opinion right now. Would you like to add something here? We are running out of the time.
Yeah, no. I think we discussed all.
Yeah, so
main.
it's good that we had the different opinions about the Trump. Hopefully, we will see a little bit of the market going to calm. We don't need escalation, and the guy who showed his behavior last Friday, he still has access to the red button. So I know that maybe I'm trying to to say too much, but this guy is responsible for the red button. And talking about some bigger stuff, we have to ask the question if it's a good or no. But that's what I know.
What it is.
Okay, let's leave it as it is here.
Yeah.
Not going deeper. Michał, thank you very much for your inputs, and
You're welcome.
hopefully we are going to have a discussion tomorrow again.
Yes, I think. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
see
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day. Take care and goodbye, Michał.
Bye.
So trying to summarize our morning meeting today, I'm going to look for continuation of the dollar weakness, but I would like to see some kind of the pullback on both euro dollar and the cable. Euro dollar, I'm going to watch for 11.15 and the price action over there, right? In case of the retest 12.25, 12.50 from here, right? Because it could be just rally, consolidation, and continuation, right? 12.40 in that case. So I'm going to look for a price action in case of no pullback here. I'm gonna to look for price action around 12.25, 12.50 and see if there is an opportunity to try to fade that rally, right? So tiny pullback towards 11.15 and price action here, if that's the case, looking to buy. And for now, bigger rally, spike higher on the dollar, that were my look for selling opportunity eventually. But overall, based on what we already seen, I'm not gonna be surprised if we are going to see a more dollar weakness within the next few days, especially that we are approaching end of the month. So some rebalancing, some trying to change the strategy, trying to take some profits, or trying to cut the losses. That might be the name of the game. The one thing worth to watch is, I think, the Fed futures about the possibility of the 50 basis points cut in September. They didn't move a lot last Friday, but it might easily change. Watch the durable goods orders later today and Bullard. That's where we might get some answer. Again, bank holiday in UK, so market may want to try to consolidate a little bit longer, but then during the New York session we might see some moves. Guys, that was my pleasure to be with you here, watching the major, top major. Euro dollar might be the case, and dollar yen, but higher. You want to see some higher levels. That's it. Don't be trapped, and see you again tomorrow, 8 a.m. CT, 7 a.m. London. Have a great rest of the Monday. Goodbye.
It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Light Forex Social Trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.